Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome to Brandon's Comedy Bomb Show, where I bring you your favorite comedians to talk about their most memorable moment bombing on stage. I'm your host, Brandon Phillips, and today's guest, you've seen her in Alvin and the Chipmunks, you've seen her in Mom's Night Out. She tours all over the country selling out theaters. You guys give it up for the hilarious Miss Anjelah Johnson Reyes. Anjelah! What's going on?
Just out here on the porch. Can you see me okay?
I can see you. You look great. You look beautiful.
Thanks, Fran. Man, I haven't seen you in the longest time. Had like a real conversation.
I know. I know. It's been a minute, and I was doing this. I thought of this idea, and I was like, you know what, Anjelah would be perfect for this. I was like, let me call in a friend favorite. So I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasures. I am excited to talk about this.
This is great. This is great. I can't wait to hear this. This is great. So first off, we can just get right into it. First off, just tell the people where you're from originally.
Bay Area, yay! You know what I mean?
Bay Area, okay. All right.
California.
I love it. Okay. And how long have you been doing stand-up for?
Touring, 13 years touring.
Okay.
I took a stand-up joke writing class in 2006.
Okay.
That's when I started writing jokes.
Okay. All right. So you started, it's been a nice little minute. You've been going hard ever since.
Can you believe it?
I love it. I love it.
We've been friends since before either one of us was writing jokes.
Was writing jokes before like comedy was even like a thing to even think about.
We've been friends since all we knew how to do was go to dance auditions, and that was gonna like blow up our spot.
Right. I know.
At the audition that was like body conscious, like that's all we knew.
That's all it was. There was literally, for me at times, not even a joke in sight of like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is something I want to do. Like, I always loved and admired stand-up. I respected the craft so much. Even studying as a kid, I was like, oh man, but I never thought I would, get on stage myself until, and I was like, oh, I could do this, so. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. So yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time. So let's hop right into it. What is your most memorable bombing moment on stage?
Okay. So I am grateful that I don't have a lot to choose from. Thank God.
That's good.
But there's one moment that's always my go-to moment, and then as I was thinking, I thought of this other thing that was kind of funny. So when I first started doing stand-up, I was still trying to find my point of view and my perspective, and sometimes that takes a while. You're trying different things, like you're saying what you think is funny, but as far as like to have a point of view about it, it takes a while to develop what that is.
Absolutely.
And one of my identity crises that I've had since I was a kid was not feeling Latino enough, right? Because I'm Mexican American, but I'm fourth generation. I don't speak Spanish, but we have a huge Mexican family. We have tamales every Christmas. So it's like, I was always on this line of like, am I Latina enough? That was always been like, my last name is Johnson. I wished it was Garcia. I wished it was Lopez, something with the N. No, it's Johnson.
Right.
So it's always been my internal struggle that I've had, is I've wanted to be more Latino than I felt I actually was.
Right.
And when I first got started, the nights that I could get stage time was the Latino nights at the Improv or wherever. So it would be like Refried Fridays at the Improv. And that's where I was making my connections with fellow Latino comedians, and they would invite me to do their shows at wherever venues they're at. So anyways, there's one night I'm doing Refried Fridays, and the whole audience is Latino, right?
Wow.
On stage. And one of the first things I do is I tried to get the audience on board with me, and I tried to get everybody to do like kind of like a grito. A grito sound is like like that, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I tried to get everybody to do shout. Remember we used to do shout all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time? So I tried to get the audience to do shout with me, and I told the audience to do it with me. No one did it. Not one person did it. And then I was so brand new at the time that I didn't know to acknowledge that moment, to acknowledge that nobody did it with me, so we can all laugh about the fact that nobody did it.
Right.
So that I could like self-deprecate and be like, yeah, that was dumb. We probably shouldn't.
Right. Right.
They would have laughed at that.
Yes.
Instead, it was an awkward cricket moment, and then I just jumped right into my material, and I was like, so my last name is Johnson, and it was so embarrassing. Oh, and to top it off, I remember I was dating this guy, kind of like dating, whatever. Like, we hung out a little bit. It wasn't anything serious, but he was a guy who was interested. He was in the audience. He came to see me that night. He came and
Wait, and this is his first time seeing you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So wait, how many people were in the audience?
Oh, sold out improv. Sold out, room full of people not participating.
Wow. And so for the people watching, like the improv is like, 100, like a couple hundred people, I think could fit into the improv.
Yeah.
It's and it's not the LA improv is not a like deep room. It's a little bit more
intimate.
Yeah, more intimate, but it still can pack a good. Oh my God! So improv just crickets.
Yeah.
Oh my God! So how did you was that at the top of your set too? You started that?
That was my first words out of my mouth. I'll get him with this. Watch.
So from then, did you finish out your set? Did you cut your set short? Or were you just powering through jokes at this time?
I was probably powering through jokes, and then of course it was one of those things where I always knew if I didn't have the room, just do the nail salon joke, and then all of a sudden everybody's on board again. So that was the nail salon joke was always my fail safe.
That was in your back pocket.
We're thinking. So I just got my nails done.
Right, and then they know what's coming.
That was my cheat.
Right, you had a good cheat code, but in between there though, it's like you still because you're like, okay, I gotta close strong, so I'm gonna close with this. But if you start out there and then you're like, oh, I got these new jokes I want to try out.
There was no new trying at that. I was like, let me just
go to
3 jokes that I know get a laugh. And usually they get like a level 8 laugh. Tonight they're going to get a level 3-4 laugh, and that's fine. And then let's do the nail salon joke and get off this stage.
Just get off.
The whole goal is get off the stage. And I think that's the audience goal as well at that point. They were like, get her off the stage.
There's no Sandman. That's the deal. There's no Sandman. And, when it comes to comedy club, like regular comedy club night, no one's going to yank you off stage. So you got to either address it or figure out how to get off.
Yeah. My other awkward moment that I had was at the same club. And the thing about that is the set went really well. It was right at the end where I said something and I kind of lost the crowd right at the end. And I was like, that was weird. So I used to, again, when I first started doing stand-up, I was like, I got to make sure people know that I love Jesus and just super young and
right.
And this is what is my moral compass right now. So let me plant seeds in there and all glory to God in in my early days of stand-up. So I used to end my stand-up set by some people say, God bless you, have a good night.
Right.
I would end my set with Jesus is real. And that was my slogan since high school. I wrote in my yearbook as my senior quote was Jesus is real.
Right.
And that was my little thing. So I would get off stage and I would go do my whole set and go, I'm Anjelah Johnson, Jesus is real, good night, whatever.
Right.
That was my little thing. Do my whole set, having a great set. Everybody's laughing. Good time.
Right.
I do my Jesus is real silence, like across the whole room, to where it was like, not just like, oh, that was interesting, but it was like, what just happened? So I get off stage, and I remember there was another comedian or security guard or somebody, I forget who it was, who told me this, but they were like, did you see how it got real, like, awkward right there at the end when you were like, Jesus is real? And I was like, yeah, what happened? And he was like, tonight's night is a whole room of Jewish kids.
Yo!
All the kids, I knew it was a young under 21 night, so I was like, oh, I got this in the bag. I work clean comedy.
Oh my God.
I can do this. So they're all laughing hysterical, but it was all like Jewish kids from like a Jewish school.
Oh
so my Jesus is real was like almost like offensive at that point.
No, for real. I thought you were going to be like, it was just like all atheists in the crowd, which I'd be like, they probably would have frowned on that, you know, but Jewish, I feel like when you say that in an all Jewish audience.
I mean, and not that they don't believe Jesus is real, but he's not, you know, the Messiah or whatever.
Right.
It was just an awkward where they were like, wait, what? You said something about Jesus. What do we do?
Right. They probably thought you were like giving a command to do something because you're like, hey, look, you know, they're probably like,
everybody what? Say amen.
Right. They're like, shalom.
Do we clap at this?
Right.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know. I'm so that is hilarious. After like both of these instances of bombing, how long did it take you, especially being early in your career, how long did it take you to get back up on the horse? You know, like when you're like, okay, I'm gonna hit a comedy club.
You know, I don't remember that being something that held me back from stage time. I think it was just something that was traumatizing in the sense of it's something you think about every time you go to take a new risk.
Yeah.
Every time you try a new joke and risk meaning like me trying to get the crowd to go shout with me. That's not a joke. So it's not like I failed at writing a joke.
Right, yeah.
I failed at an attempt to do something different, to crowd engage, to whatever. So that's risky. Anytime you do crowd work, unless you're like an amazing improviser, like that could be risky, right? So for me, doing crowd work has always been a risk because I'm like, oh, what if I don't come up with something funny and then I just dig myself in a hole? That's a risk that I'm going to take. Right. And honestly, 8 out of 10 times the risk pays off when I do crowd work.
Yeah.
But I think afterwards, it wasn't a matter of getting back on the horse. It was just a matter of keeping my fear in check when I would try to take a risk.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing that story. That is hilarious. Something that people probably would never guess. Like, what? Anjelah Johnson, like, she bombed a joke? She bombed a set? Like, yeah, you know? Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I appreciate you
having me.
So just before we get out of here, I always try to close with just like a couple questions that I always ask comedians. So the first question is, what important comic lesson would you tell your younger self if you could go back in time?
The lesson that I live by and that I share with anyone I meet, anyone I could ever ask, isn't necessarily specific to comedy, but it can be applied to that because it actually addresses what I was just talking about right now. Is do you and do you well, because there's no one like you. There's no duplicate of you. There can be people who look like you or sound like you or maybe have a similar perspective as you, but like as we know, going to auditions, right? Like if I get called to an audition to play Detective Rodriguez on this new crime show, I can guarantee you that when I arrive, there's going to be at least 15 girls wearing jeans and a leather jacket and some boots, and we're all auditioning for Detective Rodriguez, right? So I can look in that room and be like, wow, I'm a dime a dozen. Like, look at all of us. We all the same. You know what I mean? But that's actually not true, because when I go into the room, what I bring with me is all my past trauma, all my lessons I've learned from an abusive relationship, all the lessons I've learned from my siblings growing up, I bring with me my victories from childhood, my failures from childhood, all of that makes me who I am, that no one in that room has, because they don't have my parents, they don't have my siblings, they don't have my perspective. So I'm going to put something special on it that is unique to me, and only I have this. Right. And the more we stay partnered with that thought in whatever you do, whether it's writing a joke, performing stand-up, whether it's starting your own business, being a baker, being an engineer, whatever it is, as long as you know that what I have is so special and unique to me, no one has what I have. When you do you and do you well to the best of your ability, because only you know when you're selling yourself short, only you know when you didn't show up all the way, only you know when fear held you back, only you know that. So do you and do you well to the best of your ability. That is my advice to every aspect of life.
That is really dope. Wow. I feel like, wow, that is really, really good, Ange. Thank you. If you had to leave one final piece of advice for the next generation of comics, what would it be?
I mean, it's definitely that. It's because that is going to be where you find your original voice, your original point of view when you're writing, because every comic can have a joke about marriage, because that is a common thread. So just because this comic is doing a joke about how his wife is always running late, 9 out of 10 wives are always running late. So you just have your own perspective on that with your wife. Like, what is that specific thing that she says? So it's a really great thing to relate and connect with humans on something that is relatable. That doesn't mean that you're being hacky. That means that you're connecting on a human level. Your point of view on top of it, your special, unique thing on top of that premise is what makes it unique and not hacky.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. That's great. Awesome. Well, Ange, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I appreciate you. You and I go back. So I thank you so much. And if you want, just tell people obviously where they can find you, social media wise, and anything you have coming up that you want to share.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on TikTok now.
Oh, snap!
Hey!
You're doing the dances.
Whoa. So whatever, at Anjelah Johnson, Anjelah Johnson, come find me. I'm definitely most active on Instagram though. So if you want to talk to me, come hit me up there.
There you go. Awesome. Anjelah, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Love you, bro.
Love you.